Hi guys, I'm Shmi, and today you join me near to the Nürburgring, of course, during the N24 event, where I've been attending with BMW, getting to experience a number of different things, including driving from Frankfurt to the ring in the new M4 CS. Now, the M4 CS slots into the M4 lineup above the regular car, the competition, then you have the CS, and at the very top, you have this, the M4 GTS. Now, this model launched last year, but I've never previously taken a look at it and had a drive, so that's what we're going to do today. Walk around it, talk about it, think about the differences between the different cars in the lineup, take it out for a drive, and see what it is like. So the M4 GTS is pretty special immediately. There are only 700 of them. It's a limited run car. There are also now an additional 200 DTM Championship cars that celebrate the 2016 DTM Championship victory for BMW Motorsports. But the car is obviously based on BMW's regular M4 with a few fundamental differences. I mean, up front, you still have the 3-litre twin-turbocharged straight-six engine, but now, rather than the 430 of the standard car or the 450 of the competition or even the 460 of the CS, this car has 500 horsepower, and that comes due to quite a trick water injection system that we'll take a look at in a moment. Visually, you can see there are new carbon fibre pieces, the extended front splitter, you can see the specific wheels, it has Michelin Sport Cup 2 sticky rubber. Back here we've got a nice carbon fibre fixed rear wing. And generally, slightly more aggression and a Krapovich exhaust system that sounds really rather awesome, and obviously represented by the GTS designation on the boot lid. So we're talking 500 horsepower, 0 to 62 in 3.8 seconds, a top speed of 190 miles an hour, and obviously a car that is quite suited for the racetrack. The orange highlights that you see sort of all around the car and on the cage inside that we're going to have a look at in a moment pay tribute to the M3 GTS, the E92 M3 GTS that came in quite a bold orange colour, this being sort of between orange and a bronzy kind of gold colour. It's quite unique and goes against the white or black that you had the car available in. So if we take a look at the inside, you will see fixed bucket seats, you will see Alcantara. Things like the armrest sort of storage holder are done away with to save weight. You've got nice Alcantara with GTS badging there on the dashboard. The door cards, like the CS, are this kind of, I don't know how to describe it, material, but lightweight material with Alcantara pads here as well. You've got things like door pulls instead of the traditional handles, and that all takes 30 kilos of weight out of the car. Well, it actually takes more out, but as soon as you add this roll cage in the back, having taken out the rear seats too, the total difference is 30 odd kilos. So you've got a fire extinguisher down there, and not much by way of sound deadening, as I can tell you from a short run in the car already. Now, it's fitted with a 7-speed M DCT, double clutch transmission. It has adaptive suspension setup, 3 different sort of modes you can have it in. Up here we've got a carbon fibre roof, just like the sort of regular base model M4. But one thing I do want to kind of draw attention to is the price tag of this car. So it's pretty special. There are only 700 of them, and they're obviously long very much sold out. They were in very high demand. But at new price, it carried a cost of £121,000 in the UK. £121,000. That is more than double the £59,000 for a regular M4. So do you get more than double the car? That's going to be the question. And given the used market value now, sort of hovering about list or slightly above, how does it compare to the CS that costs £90,000? That's what I want to sort of think about and have a go sort of while driving. You have a couple of other things that are also on the competition pack, the blacked out kidney grills as well, sort of some small cosmetic tweaks. I'm going to come around quickly and show you the engine and the water injection system before we go for the drive. So let me just come around here, pop open the bonnet, which is done in BMW fashion with one pull and then a second pull to release it because there is no secondary catch. Come around to the front, and actually the bonnet is an interesting thing on its own because it has this vent matched in the CS but not in the regular car, obviously for cooling. And then the bonnet itself, to save 3 kilograms, is carbon reinforced plastic, so you can see this sort of large carbon weave in the material, the raw material underneath. But that is of course our engine. You can't actually see the water injection up front, the piping runs from the rear, but let me come round and show you that. So I'll just leave that loose for the moment. Back here, we'll talk about the Oled lights in a second. But in here, obviously decent 4 Series boot. If I lift up the boot floor, in there you can see the container where every sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 tanks worth of fuel, you need to refill that with distilled water, because that, basically, the water cooling system allows the air that flows through the turbochargers to be controlled, which means they could be optimized and maximized, and that's how you get the additional power out of it. And then this Oled Light does a quite nice light show. If I grab the key, you probably won't be able to see that in the light we have right here, but the BMW key. We lock the car. See the way it lights up? That's kind of cool. Turn off, turn the back on. Yeah, actually that's really cool, the way the different sort of multi-layers light up around the side. So then, key back in pocket, exhaust system ready to be heard. Do you know what? Actually, let's just jump in and do this right now, because M4 GTS does make an awesome sound. So, if I jump in here, foot on the brake, obviously keyless system, start button positioned back here. And we're into life and rolling. So you have a few different options, by the way. If we ensure that we're in noisy mode here, sport, the valves are open. Let's just give it a hear. Oh no, that's definitely valves closed, by the way. That's kind of interesting to have heard anyway. Had to pause there, turned out I needed to close the bonnet first. So now we can open the valves. There we go. That is really loud. Yeah, not so good when you close the valves, hey. So I think for driving, we will put it in sport mode to start and enjoy it like that. Now, enough talk. We've seen a little bit about the interior. We'll come back and play with a few more buttons after the drive. But let's take it out on the roads and see what the M4 GTS is like to drive. Now, it is a beautiful day today at the Nürburgring, so unsurprisingly, air conditioning is on rather full blast because I need to be kept a little bit cooler right now. But we are on some pretty awesome roads. The Nürburgring is in the Eifel Mountains. That means basically everywhere you go, you have some tight twisties, turns, and places to enjoy a car like this on tarmac that is beautifully smooth. The Germans do a wonderful job of that and have to be commended for it. So driving along like this, we're in mostly the sort of sport settings. So I put the steering in sport, the suspension in sport, and that means obviously exhaust, but the gearbox is in automatic in the sort of most basic mode. It means sort of 6th gear for most of this. But I'm just going around my first corner in the car, first sort of hairpin, and turns in quite nicely. Just in the auto you get quite a bit of noise, but I noticed there, and this is one of my sort of biggest comments about the car so far, is it's exceptionally twitchy. The throttle pedal, the brake pedal are very, very sensitive to small inputs, so you have to be amazingly delicate and accurate. Now, for the road back, we're going to turn around and drive the same road again. I'm going to put the gearbox into a sporty mode. Now, actually, let's go manual on the shifting. Why wouldn't we in this car? So we'll be manual on the pedals in a second, and we'll keep it in sport, so I can enjoy the car and see what it's about. So lots of noise, lots and lots of noise. The car does that very well, and in fact this car is substantially louder than the CS, massively so, and also, like I said, a little bit twitchier. Like that whole kind of package and setup makes it clearly more track orientated. Now, I'm not going to be driving it hard enough to play around with how much the rear end wants to bite and go sort of left, right and centre all over the place, but I imagine this car is quite keen and happy to do so. All burbles on the overrun, very nice, the way that sort of rolls on. Okay, that's kind of cool. All the noises, so they're kind of weird, but the burbles, the like crackles, and that bit's really, really nice. It's very loud without the sort of rear seats and the sound deadening. But that doesn't seem to be a problem at all. So let's keep going, keep enjoying the car. It does sort of turn nicely, and you've got some shift lights with a nice sort of M Performance wheel up top that the CS doesn't have. But otherwise, obviously, it's really quite similar. And I suppose what's impressive about that is that the CS offers so much of this car in a build run that will perhaps be maybe 3,000 models, 3,000 cars, that this did only with 700. So let's sharpen things up even more. The steering and the throttle response both into Sport Plus, and see what this is like. Goodness, it feels even louder. So obviously 500 horsepower is plenty quick enough. Top speed 190 miles an hour. There's no shortage of power for the car. I like when you lift off, you get those weird kind of burble noises. Literally, it's like a fart. There is no better way to describe it. And the way the shift lights work is super cool as well. So what else can I comment or think about, I guess, in regards to this and the CS? I mean, this is clearly a touch more dramatic. It feels that little bit more exciting, I guess. Oh, but there we go, an example of the sort of twitchiness I'm talking about. And it's not traction control, it's just that you have to be super sort of accurate with your inputs to get the right sort of result from the car. It's clearly more exciting, it's clearly a little bit quicker, but it's mostly the same kind of car. You get very similar feels. So the CS is clearly a rather good sort of compromise between M4 and M4 GTS as a car for track use, but also to be very appropriate on these kind of roads where this is rather noisy, and I guess you're in bucket seats, you know, it's not the most sort of practical. The M4 has this kind of wide variety. The regular car is a car you can use all the time, and it's a great car to use all the time. And back when I was running one of the BMW fleet cars, this is of course a BMW fleet car, I ran the M4 Coupe for a little while and really enjoyed using it just as a car that kind of met every purpose and you could use for everything. So from that point of view, it's really quite a fun drive, concentrating quite a fair bit on it, but just going along, drop some gears, you get those kind of crazy downshifts. Now one thing I quite like about the way BMW do the gearbox is if you pull the downshift too early, rather than doing nothing, it waits until it can then downshift, so you just get it slightly later, but you do get the downshift that you wanted, and I think that's quite a neat thing. And then you get so much of that if I slightly lower a window. Pop, crackle, bang. Back off you go. Feed the power back in. The more I drive it though, the more I'm seeing the traction light come on, so clearly the car is very much up for a bit of fun. Now, I'm not going to be doing that right this second, public roads and all that, but I imagine when you got a bit more familiar with the car and enjoyed driving it and pushed it a little bit harder, you'd be able to be quite entertained by that. In the meantime, 500 horsepower down the tarmac, even there, lighting up the traction control. So I guess that says something. This car wants to play. Now, it wouldn't be right to test this without putting it into regular, efficient and comfort modes and just kind of seeing what that's like back into drive on the gearbox, just to sort of quieten it up a bit, and let's turn the air conditioning down too. You can hear a lot of the noise of the dirt on the road, so clearly more intrusive into the cabin than the CS, or even than the regular M4, and I think that's something I've sort of felt while I've been driving it. This is more of a handful, and it's noticeably more of a handful, but then again, with that comes the extra excitement and the sense of occasion, which is sometimes what you want from a car like this. The drama of driving it and pushing it and just taking it out not quite all the time. You know, these cars aren't going to do thousands upon thousands upon thousands of miles in the hands of private customers. But yeah, it's been an interesting drive. Let's pull up somewhere and I'll show you a little bit more around the inside. So we've returned, and as it happens, right there is an M4 CS, so we'll take a look at that in a moment as well. But firstly, just quickly to show you around this, if you haven't seen much of the inside of an M4 before. What you're looking at, you've got your sort of modes, depending how you're driving, displayed over there, which change through the different settings. As you can see, you've got your M dynamic mode, so your pre-configurable settings that you have here that you can adjust and set up how you want, your volume controls, the paddles on the back, which I kind of feel for the GTS could be a little bit larger and more aggressive, but they're mounted to the wheel. Those are there. Little bit of a storage, cup holders still. Nice carbon gear stick with the carbon surround, that's a nice touch. And your various mode selectors, the iDrive controller, and then this kind of Alcantara finish to the armrest with the jungle behind you. If you try to put luggage in there, good luck to you. It's going to be hard, but you could have the 4-point harnesses mounted, obviously for driving experience, into the bucket seats. But other than that, it's all very BMW 4 Series inside in terms of the buttons. It's you know, sensible, logical, nicely, neatly laid out, and everything works very well. So let's drop that off for the moment and jump out and just look at these two cars side by side, the GTS and the CS. Where sort of both cars, the CS also has its own unique wheel style design, and that car in the San Marino blue is a lovely colour. You can have the CS in all the normal M4 colours, plus San Marino blue, plus lime rock grey. Obviously the GTS a little bit more limited in its standard colour palette. This one now quite substantially bug splattered because of the weather and the driving. Obviously press car has been out. A few people have been given the opportunity to drive it today. So how do these two cars compare? That's, I think, one of the sort of big interesting things. This is clearly more sense of drama, more sense of occasion, but harder. It's requires more concentration, it's more fidgety, it's way less of an everyday car. You know you're driving something a little bit more focused every time you take it out, whereas the CS gives you that sort of daily usability while still having a touch of the driving element of the GTS. So this has been sort of quite interesting, and I can see completely how that slots into the line almost halfway between the pricing of the regular car and the GTS. And I apologise right now for a lot of jumping backwards and forwards between the two, but fascinating obviously because I've been able to drive that car, so check out my video with the CS as well to get some more thoughts on that. I mean, the GTS is a great car, there's no question about that, but it is quite, like, how do I say it? It's just very, very sensitive for me. You have to really be sort of getting it right, whereas the CS is a little bit more drivable. That's the word for it. Anyway, that was a look for me, first drive, quick little drive of the BMW M4 GTS. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, go check that video with the CS out as well, and all the other stuff I've been filming with BMW here at the N24. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. That's it for now, and I'll catch up with you again very soon. Cheers.